Welcome back to today's video. In this episode, we'll follow two young men on their journey to build a unique triangular cabin deep in the snowy forest. Watch as they work together step by step to bring this cabin to life, and make sure to stay until the end to see the stunning result. At the very start of their journey, the two young men carefully selected sturdy wooden posts, making sure each one was strong enough to support the weight of the cabin. They then placed the posts firmly into the ground, adjusting their positions so the layout would be both balanced and durable. Once everything was set in place, they began connecting the posts together, piece by piece, until a solid framework emerged. This structure formed the base of the floor, the very foundation that will carry the entire cabin. On top of the wooden framework, they carefully spread out a sheet of nylon, creating a protective barrier that would help keep out moisture from the snowy ground. After that, they began fastening wooden planks side by side, making sure each one was tightly fitted against the next. Slowly, the surface took shape, and a sturdy floor began to emerge, smooth, solid, and ready to support the weight of their future cabin. After completing the floor, they moved on to the next crucial step, setting up the basic triangular frames on top of it. These frames were carefully aligned and secured, rising steadily to form the skeleton of the cabin's walls. With each triangle lifted into place, the structure became stronger and more defined, slowly transforming from a flat foundation into a three-dimensional shape. After setting up the triangular frames, they began connecting them with horizontal beams, carefully fastening each piece to link the separate triangles together. Bit by bit, the once individual frames became a unified structure, stronger and more stable with every beam added. As the triangular frames rose higher, the two young men didn't stop at just building the main walls. Near the peak of the roof, they carefully installed additional beams to form a smaller framework for a loft area. Each piece of wood was measured and adjusted with precision before being secured firmly into place. With this addition, the cabin structure not only grew stronger, but also gained a sense of warmth and practicality, making it feel more like a real home in the wilderness. Once the framework for the loft was in place, they began laying down the wooden planks. One by one, each board was positioned tightly against the next, carefully aligned so there would be no gaps in between. With steady hands, they secured the planks firmly onto the beams, and slowly the platform transformed into a smooth, sturdy floor. With the wooden door already prepared, they turned their attention to building a proper frame for it. Carefully, they crafted and secured the outer border, making sure it fit snugly around the door's edges. This step was important, not only to strengthen the door itself, but also to ensure it could open and close smoothly once installed. When the frame was complete, they carried it over to the designated spot at the front of the cabin, the entrance that would welcome them each time they returned from the snowy forest. Positioning it with precision, they prepared to mount the door into place, marking the moment when their cabin truly began to resemble a home. After finishing the frame, the wooden door was finally installed at the front of the triangular cabin. Carefully lifted and fitted into position, transforming the once open frame into a proper entrance. With the door now in place, the cabin no longer looked like just a structure under construction. It began to take on the appearance of a real shelter. This simple addition marked an important milestone, giving the cabin both security and a welcoming touch, as if inviting them to step inside their new home in the snowy forest. On one of the sloping side walls of the cabin, they began fastening wooden planks to cover half of the space. Each board was carefully aligned and nailed into place, gradually closing off one section of the wall to shield the inside from the wind and snow. On the open side, they added a large door frame. This clever design allows the door to be easily opened or closed when needed. By fitting the door neatly into the frame, they ensure the cabin is better protected from snow and cold winds, while still allowing natural light and ventilation. It was a simple yet practical addition that made the triangular cabin more functional and comfortable to live in. At the front of the triangular cabin, the two young men turned their attention to building a solid wall. They began stacking thick wooden planks, one by one, across the framework. Each board was carefully laid out horizontally, overlapping the one below it to make sure there would be no gaps for wind or snow to slip through. As the hammering echoed through the quiet forest, the front face of the cabin slowly transformed. What once was an open frame gradually became a closed, protective surface. They worked with precision, checking that every plank was aligned and tightly secured before moving to the next. Row after row, the wall grew taller and stronger until the entire front side was fully covered in wood. Moving to the back wall of the cabin, they carefully measured and marked the center, preparing space for a window. With steady hands, they built a sturdy wooden frame, fastening each piece together to outline the opening. This frame would later hold the window securely in place, allowing light to filter into the cabin while also providing a view of the snowy forest outside. By adding this simple yet important detail, the cabin gained not only practicality, but also a sense of warmth and openness. At the entrance, they carefully installed a lock onto the main door. Taking their time, they measured and adjusted the fitting so that it would sit securely in the wood. Each screw and hinge was tightened with precision, ensuring the lock worked smoothly and the door could be fastened firmly shut. At the very peak of the triangular roof, they installed a small glass window. Carefully lifting it into position, they secured the frame so it fit neatly within the uppermost section of the cabin. Though modest in size, this window added both charm and function, allowing natural light to pour into the loft area and brighten the interior. On the lower floor, just beneath the window, they decided to add a small wooden shelf. Using sturdy planks, they carefully measured and cut each piece before fastening it securely into the wall. With the main features already in place, the two young men turned their attention to the unfinished sections of the cabin's walls. Piece by piece, they began covering the remaining gaps, fastening wooden planks tightly together until the open spaces were sealed. The rhythmic sound of hammering echoed through the forest as the structure slowly closed in, turning what had once been an open frame into solid, protective walls. This process took time and patience, but with each board added, the cabin grew warmer, sturdier, and more complete. With the loft already built, The next task was to create a staircase that would make moving between the two levels easier. They began by preparing sturdy wooden planks, carefully cutting them into equal pieces to serve as the steps. Once the steps were ready, they turned their attention to the supporting posts. These were crafted with special joints carved into them, allowing the steps to be attached securely. This detail not only gave the staircase strength, but also made it more durable and safe to use. Finally, they assembled all the parts, fastening the steps onto the supports one by one until the staircase took shape. When the last piece was in place, the loft became fully accessible, connected to the lower floor by a solid wooden stairway. To bring in even more light and balance the design, they decided to add another small window on the opposite side of the roof's peak. Carefully, they measured the remaining triangular space at the top and crafted a compact wooden frame to fit it perfectly. Once the frame was secured, they installed a small glass window, making sure it was tightly sealed against the cold wind. For the framed opening on the side of the cabin, they chose to install clear plastic panels. Each sheet was carefully measured, cut, and fitted into the frame, providing a secure covering that would keep out wind, snow, and rain. At the same time, the transparent material allowed natural light to flow through, giving the interior a brighter, more open feel. At the back of the cabin, the window frame they had built earlier was now fitted with 2 wooden shutters. Each side was carefully crafted to swing open and close smoothly, forming a pair of sturdy wings for the window. When closed, the shutters sealed the cabin tightly against the wind and snow, adding an extra layer of warmth and protection. With the walls fully assembled, the 2 young men gave the exterior a finishing touch by coating it with a layer of glossy paint. Using brushes and steady strokes, they carefully covered every plank, making sure the paint spread evenly across the surface. Turning their attention to the sloping roof on both sides of the cabin, the 2 young men began by spreading sheets of nylon across the wooden framework. This acted as a waterproof barrier, an important step to keep the interior dry and safe from snow or rain. Once the nylon was stretched and secured tightly in place, they carefully lifted sheets of corrugated metal roofing and laid them down over the surface. One by one, the panels were aligned and fastened, overlapping slightly to prevent any leaks. The sound of hammering echoed through the quiet forest as the shiny metal gradually covered the triangular structure, giving the cabin a solid and weather-resistant roof. With this protective layer complete, the home was now ready to face the storms and heavy snowfall of the wilderness, offering warmth and security beneath its sturdy shelter. Inside the cabin, they turned their focus to the wooden floor. Taking their tools, they carefully planed the surface of the planks, smoothing out every rough edge and uneven spot. Bit by bit, the coarse boards transformed into a clean, even surface that felt pleasant to walk on. After smoothing the surface of the floor, they moved on to finishing the edges. Carefully measuring each side of the room, they cut and fitted narrow wooden strips to form clean borders along the floor's perimeter. One by one, these edge pieces were secured firmly in place, neatly covering the gaps between the floorboards and the walls. Once the cabin had taken shape and the walls were sealed, the next important task was to bring warmth into their new home. For this, the two young men decided to install a wood-burning stove, the heart of the cabin during long, snowy nights. They carefully selected a corner of the room, a safe and practical spot where the stove could spread heat evenly throughout the interior. After placing the stove in its position, they began measuring the path for the chimney pipe. Precision was crucial, as the pipe would need to cut through the wall and rise outside without leaving gaps that could let in wind or snow. With tools in hand, they marked the spot and slowly cut out a neat opening in the wooden wall, creating the passageway for the smoke to escape. When the hole was ready, they fitted the chimney pipe, joining each section tightly together and securing it so no smoke would leak into the cabin. The pipe extended out of the wall and up into the cold forest air, a clear sign that the shelter was becoming a real home. This stove was not just for cooking, but for survival. The warmth that would fill the cabin would make the difference between enduring the winter and truly living comfortably in it. To make the entrance more secure and insulated, they added a strip of rubber lining around the edges of the main door. Carefully, they pressed the rubber seal into place, following the frame all the way around to ensure no gaps were left behind. This detail might have seemed small, but it played an important role. The seal helped block out drafts, kept the warmth inside, and protected the cabin from snow or rain seeping through the cracks. To make the entrance easier to reach, the two young men decided to build a small staircase in front of the cabin's threshold. They gathered sturdy wooden beams and planks, carefully cutting and shaping each piece to fit the design. As the structure came together, the front of the cabin gained not only practicality, but also charm. The staircase created a welcoming path leading up to the main door. Now, instead of climbing directly over the snowy ground, they could step smoothly onto the porch and into their warm shelter. This simple addition gave the triangular cabin a more complete and homely appearance, making it look less like a rough hideout and more like a true dwelling nestled in the heart of the forest. Inside the cabin, they turned their attention to creating storage space that would make daily life more convenient. Using strong wooden boards, they built a simple but sturdy cabinet where tools, cooking supplies, or other essentials could be neatly stored away instead of being left scattered on the floor. Alongside it, they also fixed several hooks onto the wall, providing a place to hang their personal belongings such as coats, hats, or bags. These small additions may have seemed modest, but they made the interior feel much more organized and homely. Outside, the forest lay silent under a thick blanket of snow, the ground and horizon blending into a vast sea of white. The cabin stood proudly against this frozen backdrop, but the heavy snowfall made it difficult to move around. To make a path, the two young men picked up their shovels and began digging through the snow in front of the entrance. With each scoop, they cleared away layers of cold powder, slowly carving out a walkway that led from the cabin to the open space beyond. Outside the cabin, they decided to build a wooden storage cage for firewood. Using sturdy beams, they constructed a simple yet durable frame, then fastened additional slats around it to create walls with enough space for air to flow through. This design allowed the wood to stay dry while also preventing it from rotting. Piece by piece, they stacked the firewood neatly inside, filling the cage with the fuel that would keep their stove burning through the long, snowy nights. Placed conveniently near the cabin, the firewood storage not only added practicality, but also gave the exterior a rustic charm, showing that the place was truly lived in and prepared for the harsh winter ahead. And with that, their cabin was finally complete. Thank you for following along on this journey and sharing in every step of the build. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming adventures. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next video.